God is moving. It's Young People Nation.
Welcome to Young People Nation. Listen to us weekly as we commit to bring transparency, healing, and truth to the everyday situations in life that might bring you down. Join us for your weekly dose of inspiration. Thank you for listening to Young People Nation. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And now, here's your host, Eugene and Donna Perry.
Let's go. Christ is the foundation. Know his word gon' lead us. Know I'm already going. Taking steps I believe in. Giving guidance to the youth. Giving guidance to the lost. Giving the world to the project. Lead them back to the cross.
Welcome to Young People Nation, and today we are so excited to have Kenya and Tiffany Hodge. What's going on, young folks?
Hey.
Hello, how you doing?
Hey, let's get it on.
Hey, you can tell the diversity of our ages, right? Well, today we are honored to have them. We have 9 years of accountability and partnership. Parents of 6 children.
That's correct.
Ages 25 to 5. But most importantly, what I like about this couple, they are friends.
Yes.
They're very present in the community. The Hodges are very transparent about their love, family, and what community building means. Now, Ms. Tiffany is a licensed master social worker and founder of Tiffany Empowers LLC, which I have been fortunate to listen to. Awesome podcast or awesome teaching, because you have a podcast, and we'll talk about that one. But Mr. Kenya is a DJ, and he's very passionate and busy about building our men to be accountable to their families.
That's right.
That's what we're about. All right. Well, welcome, Team Hodge.
Hey, woohoo.
Welcome. Now, this first session, we got 4. We're going to be talking about marriage boundaries / wife versus the husband. Ooh. Let's talk about that and unpack it. I never heard about this till we got to talking about it. So we hope that our audience got their listening ears on.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, now, are boundaries necessary for a marriage?
Yeah, I believe so. I think boundaries are very necessary for a marriage because, it lets you know what your standards are and what your non-negotiables are. And we have to respect that in both parties.
Yes.
I agree. I'm happy to be back. Thank y'all for inviting us again.
Okay.
This is awesome.
Yes.
To be here with everybody, right? And
That's
talking
right.
about boundaries and marriage.
Yeah, you really helped us.
But to Kenya's point, yes, boundaries are necessary in marriage, just in everyday life, but especially in marriage, because we're trying to make this 2 thing one, and still trying to figure out what needs to be balanced in that. How does that look like? Because even though we are one, we're still individuals and still accountable to our own individual assignments.
Yes.
And so balancing that takes some time, in my opinion, to marriage, especially because you're coming into that, trying to figure out what his boundaries are, what are mine, and how can we blend that. So it takes time, but it is very, very, very necessary to a healthy marriage.
Yeah,
you're really going through cross the stereotype there, because in the days society and all, they're saying the woman don't need that, they can do it all by themselves, and it's a big challenge for a man.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it is. I think with boundaries, people sometimes look at boundaries as hard lines that you don't cross. But in my mind, I'm a lot math, so I look at it like more like a Venn diagram, where it does overlap.
Right.
Some of our boundaries lines kind of cross to where we have areas to where we're both included on.
That's
we
good.
We don't step out of.
That's
Right.
good.
There's some that just applies to me, applies to her.
Yes.
Yeah. I see that visual, though, of the Venn diagram.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm very
I
visual.
see that.
But
Okay.
yeah,
Makes
That's
sense.
creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And so we have to be patient. I heard that
Yes.
in this process, because we're coming to know one another, and everybody has that. Please don't do that.
Right.
Every one of us has that. You know, whether you're married or whether you're not married, you have that. So, as a man, gentlemen, why is the boundaries important for a husband?
Well, boundaries are important to a husband, especially in the younger generation now, is because we're coming out of a place from old teachings to where we're being more respectful to ourselves, to where we understand, you know, especially a man like me, I give, and I'm not going to have anything if I give it all.
That's right.
So it's more of boundaries for me respecting myself, so that way I have more to give.
That's good. You and my husband got similar personality. That's him. He's a giver.
Well, one of my challenges was, and the stereotype that other men have about women and all in boundaries. Like my wife work in finance, you know, in a credit union, and what am I to try to tell her how to run money when she works with it?
That's right.
And therefore, the stereotype was, all right, the men in charge, the money come out the house, and nothing happens. Let's go through me. Okay, she works with and sit on all the money and have access to all the accounts. And here I am saying, okay, I'm the man, you need to do this. Hello, sir. She works in it every day and with the stocks, the bonds, and everything, and all the investments. And here I am, sometimes when I was in service 100 miles away and try to tell her what
Thousands.
to do. You know, it was so ideological stupid, is that stereotype that the man, you got to be in charge because you the man. No, women have a mindset and the ability to run that company and run that business just as well as a man. And that don't make you less than a man. Matter of fact, make you smart, because it's her headache to pay them bills.
Oh, you just told on yourself.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's good mental boundaries as well, to kind of guard yourself from, like as you said, kind of teachings that's kind of idiotic.
Right.
So
right.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, and I had to, and we're going to talk about women, the boundaries. Okay, he entrusts me with those finances because his checks are primary. So I want to be a good steward over this. So if he come ask a question, or when we do the budget for the month, I give great reports. You know, no one is calling him, or he's not getting a letter in the mail, and none of those things.
No past dues.
Right, no. And, you know, when he get ready to go buy something, his credit score is over the 800 because he is entrusting me to handle the finances of the house.
And bad finances bring on a great deal of depression.
So I, as a wife, we're going to talk about us. Talk to me about the boundaries for you as a wife, or as a woman.
As a wife, as a woman, it coming from a society that tells us to be individualized and that we have all this power and authority. And I think women we do have those things, but it can be convoluted for us when we walk into, to Kenya's point, that Venn diagram, when we stand in that middle circle and trying to rationalize in ourselves what that boundary looks like. And the boundary is for me, and I'm only speaking for myself, is you don't have to show all of that authority all of the time.
Yes.
The boundary is to relinquish it and allow him to share that load.
Yes.
Because you don't have to do that anymore.
Yes.
And so I hope I'm answering that.
You are.
I think that the boundary is, don't allow what you have been taught, that old teaching sometimes, that I have to be in power, I have to be in control, I have to do all of this. Allow those boundaries to fall, because you may need to create new ones when you're coming into a marriage. Not to get rid of them, but to be adjustable to those boundaries. Because he has to play a role.
Yes.
If not, then why are we here?
That's right.
And knowing where our control is, what does that look like in a marriage now, in versus to being in that big circle by myself?
Yes.
Walking into that center circle.
Yes.
So there are some things that I have to let go of that were boundaries that are no longer serving me purpose in this particular situation in that circle.
Yes.
And what are those boundaries now that I must relinquish and pick up new ones, because I'm not in that space where all those boundaries that protected me as a single woman, as a single mother, as a woman in general, I don't need those. And so I think when we get to that middle circle as wives and as women, we have to adjust that into
That's
making
good.
sure that we're including them.
Yes.
Because society tells us we can do it. We are like all of that, but making sure you're including them in that boundary setting in the middle, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
I want to throw a word out there that most marriages seem to overlook. It's not a complicated word, but it's a word in marriage that isn't used anymore. It's called trust.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're walking into trusting somebody.
Yes.
You know, with all of you.
Yes. Yes.
And so we have these boundaries in place, because
Yes.
boundaries are for us.
Yes.
And so, but now we're in the middle where, okay, what was for me individually, I now have to relinquish some of that because I'm not in this circle by myself anymore.
Absolutely.
So what boundaries am I willing to relinquish?
Yes.
Or have some flexibility in
Yes.
to allow him to be who he is supposed to be
Yes.
in my life?
Because it's about the us.
It's about the us at this point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And we want the audience to know these are not absolutes.
Correct.
But they're just little tidbits, because
Yeah.
you've got to find out what works for
Right.
you.
Right.
You
These are just
understand?
things to think about, to ponder on, and
Yes.
to ask these questions when you're with your spouse or when you're thinking about marrying or dating. These are some things that you want to think about. What are those things that I need to potentially let go? Because it's not going to serve me any justice in this circle,
Yes.
in this Venn diagram circle. So,
But you open up a serious door there, a serious door that causes you to have an emotional, healthy background and also a healthy life in a marriage, is that trust. Because I remember when I met my wife, I gave her complete access to everything I had, every bank account, every safety deposit box and all, because I wanted to rest assured I had the confidence in her that she would be able to handle any situation that required a decision to be made. And therefore I could move on freely.
right.
You know, I didn't have to worry about her going to spending everything or skipping out to Bermuda.
And that's also knowing yourself, knowing who you're with, knowing the process, and these boundaries. Audience is not just, even though we're talking about boundaries in marriage, but also, and we talked about this, and you go back and listen to it, where Tiffany talked about boundaries in life. I want to talk about, also it's a God idea and it's healthy. I believe it keeps down the turbulence in a relationship when we're communicating, and I am not just sitting up there feeling like I'm about to explode because I really don't like you saying that or doing that. And so therefore I need to have that conversation with you, my husband, as my husband say, hey, honey, that doesn't work for me.
Right.
Man, you really use a significant stereotype there. You actually have to throw this word in the equation. Listen.
Oh, wow. That's good. Yeah. Listen to understand and not to just respond.
Correct.
That's correct. I think boundaries, especially when it comes to it being a God idea, as far as marriage is a God idea. I'm a very optimistic person. So when I hear boundaries, I hear something different. And I'm not trying to assume, but I know people think that boundaries are to protect, or they look at it negative. I look at it as a positive. Knowing my wife's boundaries, now I can help nurture her.
That's beautiful.
Because I understand sometimes, boundaries are also to protect us from getting out of line.
Yes.
And if she might be coming too close to her boundaries, I'm there to actually pull her back. Or just remind her of her boundaries.
Yes.
So it's not always in a condescending way.
Yes.
To look at boundaries.
That's right. That's good.
It's healthy.
Yes, it's very healthy. And you, just speaking for myself as well, you more relaxed. You understand that I was able to communicate with my husband. Honey, this I don't do that no more.
Right.
Say honey again. Go ahead, say honey again. Go ahead.
I don't. That doesn't work for me.
Right.
And so now he knows instead of being in the guessing game, and vice versa. When it comes to him, he's not a person. He's not a jewelry person. He's not all that. So for me to go and buy him this big ring and stuff, that's not him.
Right.
That's not him.
Yeah.
Now get him some tools.
Yeah.
Turn him loose in Harbor Freight somewhere, or at it used to be Sears.
Yeah.
In the craftsman section. Oh yeah, that's his party. So how has boundaries helped in your marriage?
You want to take that one?
Well, boundaries. I honestly learned the concept. We all understood and probably have boundaries innately, but she brought it to the forefront of my mind just to understand what boundaries is. So, when you put a word to something, to action, you're able to understand and do it, carry it out a lot better. So boundaries has helped me to, like I said, I guess, contain who I am as a man, as a husband to her. You know what I'm saying? Making sure that I'm respecting myself in a role to which I'm offering myself to her.
Yes.
Boundaries, like I said, I understand her boundaries to where specifically I like to talk about the issue until it's resolved.
Okay.
And sometimes that could be overbearing to a person who sometimes need a break to go over and reassess what we're arguing about or what the situation is. So I know me, like I said, understanding boundaries, okay, let me fall back a little bit because now my persistence can become something to where it's overbearing.
Yes.
And it's not what I'm intending to do.
Yes.
So that's something personally the way I respect, like I said, respecting my boundaries, respecting her boundaries. And that's how sometimes we notice, once again, the Venn diagram, okay, that's where I just need to respect her boundaries.
That's good.
Yeah. The idea is to always stay in the middle of your Venn diagram. And so when I'm realizing, okay, I'm pushing him because even though it's for him, I might be, because we're married and I have the ability, he has the ability to push me out that circle. And so when I notice that I might be pushing him out of that circle that we're both standing in, now I'm pushing him back into his bigger circle to where he's going to just operate on his own. Right?
Yes.
Because now we're not in our boundary anymore. We're in our individual boundaries.
Yes.
So to his point, how can I make sure that I pull him back in so we can both stay in the middle circle together? Because if we go back to our individual circles, we're not in the marriage.
Yeah.
I think that, and honestly, that's a great analogy because those outer parts of the Venn diagram is how we are supposed to have those boundaries for the world.
Correct.
Not for each other.
Not for each other. Yeah.
That's good.
But with that, I know when we first started out, we had to come to the understanding that when I'm at work, every time you call, I can't answer the phone. And every time you call, that don't mean I'm doing something illegal or whatever like that. And you shouldn't get offended.
Yes.
Cause I remember sometimes you used to call, used to be in a conference meeting.
Yeah.
And everything.
Military life.
Military life.
And my wife didn't understand that. It was like, okay, Colonel, I'm going to have to go out there and answer my wife right now because at home she has a higher authority than you.
Yeah.
But I had to learn, I was learning to be a military wife,
Right.
and so going back to what my husband said, I had to trust him. You understand? I couldn't always question.
Yeah.
Are you in a meeting? Because I saw so much around me of men cheating and telling their wives they're in the field, but they're not in the field.
Well, I got a perfect example of that. We went out for a night fire, but we did it 3:00 in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
And she called me and said, are you really at the range? I said, where else will I be 3:00 in the morning on a Tuesday? You know?
And we didn't have cell phones back then, so it
Right.
was a
There
landline.
was no video calls.
No,
where
right,
you like,
no,
video.
no, none of that,
Right.
none of
Yeah.
that. And so, I'm like you. I like to talk, but my husband, he like give him space to think it through. Don't, because he'll tell me quick, baby, that's enough of that. Okay, so I can't get offended because he's at his place. Give him time to digest what I just said, and he does. I have had to learn to allow him to come back, and he said, "Okay, I thought about that, and okay, I see where the mix up or the miscommunication is."
And I don't have to get my way.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's the biggest one right there. That's a boundary.
I think those are the healthy boundaries that you were talking about, to where like the modification of the boundaries. That's how we're going to process conflict. That's how we're going to agree to process conflict. That's our guiding rules to deal with, especially, like I said, conflict.
Yes, yes.
And that's I think preparation. Well, what they say, an ounce of preparation.
I know what you're talking about. A pound of cure, an
Ounce of preparation
is worth
bet-
a pound of cure.
Something like that.
Something like
We'll
that,
get-
yeah.
Well, I look at it like this. It
Yeah.
keep that frying pan off your head. That's what I'm saying.
For my audience, I don't fight like that. Okay,
No. But she throw a mean shoe.
I don't do that no more. No more.
She got a
That's
right.
a whole nother story.
Whole
Okay.
nother
she
day.
She can throw that thing just like Mahomes throw that football around.
But yes, and so in closing, because we're about to wrap up, remarks from the wives, and then we're going to deal with remarks from the husbands. Then we're going to give our hotline for mental health and Mr. Perry.
Yeah, well, I appreciate being here. This was amazing just to have the dialogue.
Yes.
I think that the Venn diagram was amazing. I'm gonna have to
Yes.
use that.
Yes.
Right?
Got the
'Cause,
patent out, brother.
yeah,
I
that's
had to
awesome
pin that
work.
to the
Kenya.
video.
Yeah.
Because I want to just encourage people, don't be afraid to walk out of that big circle to the middle to meet your partner, and don't be afraid to cross over to get them if they walk into theirs.
Yes.
Because that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Because sometimes if we can identify that, oh, he's over there, and I can stand in the middle and wait for him to come back, or I can do my duty as a wife and go get him. And so
Yes.
I want to make sure that we understand that it is our duty
Yes.
to go get our partner
And cover them.
And
Yes.
so this was amazing. I love the conversation.
Yes.
And yeah, that's it. Thanks for having me. Us,
Yeah. Yeah. She summed it up. Basically, we appreciate the conversation.
Yes.
It's healthy. Even in doing this, it gives me more insight in seeing how my wife view things,
Yes.
and her seeing how I view things. Once again, I credit understanding boundaries to her. She speaks about her profession, and and how this week or this month we're going to talk about boundaries, and she gives me like a dry run, and I'm actually the first student, and I enjoy that. You know what I mean? I think boundaries are healthy; they're important. Most of all, is a life guide, especially when you have a partner.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's where boundaries are the most important.
That's in it for the us.
Yeah, it's for the us, because
Yes.
individually the boundaries are really there to protect us.
Yes.
But now you have to have boundaries with somebody that you're supposed to call one. And how do you do that? So yeah, awesome conversation. I appreciate y'all having us.
But we appreciate you guys, and we always enjoy having dinner with you guys and
Yeah,
fellowship,
yeah.
and that's where our connection is. So we're just grateful to God for you guys. We want to give out a couple of resources for hotlines, because you never know when someone is dealing with a mental health crisis. We have the 988 hotline. We have the text home to 741-741, and this is a source that's free 24/7. And also, there's a 211 for general community resources that is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Also, that number, if you're able to write it down or you're good with numbers, 800-783-0607. Okay, Mr. Perry?
As usual, you know, in a marriage, you always have a best friend. And in marriage, your wife is your best friend and all. And that will lead to a long and happy life. And also question yourself, am I living or just existing? This has been Young People Nation. Remember, there is always hope.
Let's go. Christ is the foundation. Know His word gon' lead us. Know I'm already going. Taking steps I believe in. Giving guidance to the youth. Giving guidance to the lost. Give the world to the project. Lead them back to the cross. He the number one prospect. He the top boss. I was broke, I was empty. He the one that paid the cost. Really thought that I was cool. There was nothing like the Savior. Now it's time for the truth. The whole world been waiting. It's Young People Nation. 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 The whole world been waiting. Whatever you going through, I know what He gonna do. Don't matter the circumstance, we going back to the root. Keep going, keep going. Let that seed keep growing. You need peace and we know it. Now it's time to live holy. Young People Nation. You know what time it is. Young People Nation. Get ready, the time is here. Get ready, we vibing here. We about to let God in here. Young People Nation. It's Young People Nation. Yeah, do it for the heavens, you know where we going. Influenced by His love, you know we gotta show it. It's time to put the youth onto what God is doing. Cause I can tell you now, right now, that God is moving. It's Young People Nation.